rise from the dead in spirit, or did his body come out also?
He was, maybe his body came out, I don't know. But I know.
Well, that's a big deal.
He rose in the spirit. That's what.
No, he rose in the body.
Why I want to make that.
But he rose in the body. You can't say he didn't walk out of the tomb on Sunday.
And for what we knew at the time, Jesse was an ardent opponent of homosexuality in and outside the church, and presented himself as such.
The spirit of homosexuality is of their father, the devil. It's not them, the person. It's the spirit that made a home in them. And it came from them overreacting to some sort of a situation in life, whether it's from someone messing with them when they were kids, or overreacting to an angry mother, because you become like what you hate.
But shortly after the March interview, friends of his came to us with a different story. These stories first came to light when Jesse's former co-host and alleged decade-long gay lover exposed him. 61-year-old Patrick Rooney has known Jesse for nearly 30 years, dating back to roughly 1992.
Everybody know Patrick Rooney, one of the smartest white men on this side of heaven.
The two were so close that Jesse was the minister at his wedding and the pastor at his baptism, long before Rooney claimed any homosexual activities began.
Right around that time, I also had started a TV show. I was doing a public access TV show in LA, and with a friend of mine who had gotten off heroin and wanted to, he asked me to be involved in the show to help other people get off drugs and things like that. So we started a show, and one of our first guests was Jesse and another gentleman from Bond. So we did a couple shows with them. And from that time forward, right after the show happened, Jesse and I talked in the green room, backstage. And right off the bat, he started asking me stuff. Jesse's very forward with his questioning and things like that. So he actually asked me right after that show, are you gay?
Rooney's characterization shows that Jesse allegedly used similar grooming tactics as other homo predators, like Saginaw priest Father Robert DeLand, who asked similar questions when preying on a young man in 2017.
To discover that you have some gay tendencies is a fine thing, because then you don't have to be so confused.
Right.
Do you feel less confused?
Do you? Yeah.
After Jesse discovered Rooney's same-sex attraction, his relationship with Jesse was taken to the next level. Bit by bit, Jesse began edging him closer and closer to sin.
Once he moved up there to do the show, we stayed in the same house. Jesse would kind of do some things, kind of horseplay and stuff like that with me. And at times he would do stuff where he would like grab me and then we'd kind of wrestle around a little bit. And then I'd feel his, private parts against me. And he did that more than once. So it wasn't like an accidental thing. He would kind of do it. And then I even mentioned it like, what's that or whatever. And he would kind of play around and joke about it.
Fast forward to 2005, and Jesse was ready to make his final move.
We did a conference with them called Moral Reconstruction, which is kind of ironic now that we're sitting here talking about something else. It's called Moral Reconstruction. We did that. That first conference was, I believe, in 2005, and we did a follow-up conference in 2006 with them as well. And I went with Jesse to Washington, D.C. For this conference. I was a fundraiser at the time. And so we did fundraising, and I was part of the conference. While we were at the conference, we stayed in Virginia, near DC. So we were sitting on the bed together, and all of a sudden he turned to me and just looked at me, and he said, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do?" And he said it in a tone that was really insistent. And I'd never seen this tone from him before. It was like kind of scary. It kind of scared me. Like what? What do you want to do? I knew what he meant, and then I told him, okay. And at first I'm scared, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm playing along here. It kind of threw me off my game, I guess, in a way. I think later I realized that's kind of something that people do sometimes. It's like the devil works in a certain way by intimidating you, and it throws you off your normal game. And so he said, what do you want to do? And he was like, okay, I'm scared. And then I told him what I want to do. I mentioned sex acts, that he knew about, that I had already talked to him about, that I was interested in. And next thing you know, he's ripping his clothes off and coming at me, basically. And I did the same, took my clothes off. And next thing you know, we're fully at it, having not get into detail here, but basically full-on sexual acts.
Rooney's recollections show that Jesse mirrored DeLand's sexual advances almost identically.
I love you.
Love you too.
I know. What are we going to do?
I don't know.
No, what are we going to do, really?
Rooney's description shows that after their sexual encounter, Jesse began intertwining his private homosexualism with blasphemy.
After we had just done this first sexual act, and then ever since then, he told me that once we did this, I was born again. This sounds crazy, but this is the absolute truth. He said that I was born again. He would remind me of that through the years.
Following being born again, Rooney contends that his sodomitic relationship with Peterson went on for roughly 10 years, until Rooney decided to come clean to his wife and son.
My son was really angry. My son was mostly angry at me because he had Jesse on such a pedestal. My son had Jesse on such a pedestal, he literally thought Jesse could walk on water. We got on a phone call, we talked to Jesse, and as soon as we brought it up with my son on the phone call, Jesse denied it. And I said, Jesse, you're a liar. You're lying. You know you're lying. And he finally came out and admitted to my son that he did that.
Rooney later moved to Florida to get away from Jesse. But according to Rooney, Jesse couldn't handle the relationship ending, offering him several bribes to get him back to LA. It's typical for homo predators to try and cover their tracks using a cornucopia of strategies to shut people up. In the case of Father DeLand, it was now deceased Saginaw Bishop Joseph Sistone, who remained silent on DeLand's abuse for years. While serving as an auxiliary bishop in Philadelphia in